Grace and peace. My name is Ryan, and I'm the movie pastor. I love to watch movies with my movie pass and think theologically about them. Think about them as a Christian and as a minister and as a human person who reads and interprets texts like movies to see what they mean and see what messages they're sending. Today I watched Terminator Dark Fate, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of surprised. It didn't look like it was going to be good, and it was really quite good, especially by comparison to some of the movies that came before it. This is, I think, the sixth movie in the series and the fourth reboot. But I enjoyed it. It was great. I mean, in as much as a movie like The Terminator can be great. Certainly when we talk about popcorn action flicks like that, they're not the same kind of quality as your Shawshank Redemptions, your As You Like It's, your Dr. Zhivago's. But I often like these kinds of movies better anyway, and if we can agree that The Terminator and Terminator 2 were great, and I think we can, I would argue Terminator Dark Fate is up on that level. So that alone brings up interesting theological questions. Questions like, what is quality? If we believe in goodness, truth, and beauty, what is that goodness? What makes a thing be good? Terminator followed many of the same beats that Terminator Genesis followed and T3 followed. I mean, it was the same story we've seen 100 times before. The bad guys send somebody back in time to kill the good guy before they are powerful enough to matter. And so the good guys also send something back in time to protect that guy, and then there's a battle, and the evil hard-to-kill robot gets killed in a hard-to-do way that also results in the good guy that got sent back having to die. That's the plot. We watched that plot again, but this time at least I liked doing it, and last time I didn't like watching that plot happen again. So what's the difference? I hope you've got opinions, and I hope you'll share them with me, because I don't really know. What I do know is theology, and so I can talk about that. And one obvious theological beat that we got in the film was when Sarah Connor introduced herself as Mother Mary. She said, let someone else be Mother Mary for a change, and so she used that term to describe herself. That's, of course, very appropriate. Sarah Connor is a Mary type. She's an analog of Mary. John Connor is an analog of Jesus Christ, one of the most obvious ones, actually, in motion picture history. He even has those same initials, JC, which is something that particularly obvious Christ analogs do in fiction. But John Connor is the auspicious birth, the one that was promised, the one that is anticipated, born under mysterious circumstances with a miraculous father who's going to save us all. And Sarah is the mother of John, who hears about this while pregnant and has to react. And so Sarah says that of herself, and it brings into explicit detail this Christ discussion that has been present in Terminator since the very beginning. And in this film, it asks a couple of interesting questions about that. For one thing, unlike the previous films, there is no John Connor, or he's in, spoiler alert, he's in one very short scene, and he dies. And so it asks the question, what if really the only point of having a JC is that they die? What if the best thing to do with a JC is kill it? What if that's the way the story has to go? I think that's a really interesting question. Later on in the film, and through the marketing campaign where you see, Sarah really big above the other figures in the movie, and of course this movie welcomed back Linda Hamilton to play Sarah, is the question, what if we don't need JC as long as we've got Mother Mary? What does it look like if we just follow Mother Mary, and if JC's accomplished his work, maybe the one we should really be paying attention to is Sarah Connor. What if she's the hero all along, like she was in the first movie? And then by the end of the film, it asks a different question, and it asks this question of, what if Jesus was a Latin American woman? What if Jesus was a Latina? Because Danny Ramos, you hear Sarah Connor say, oh, "You're John," and so now Danny Ramos is this figure that's going to rise up, that's going to save us all, that's this promised hero. And I think that's a very interesting question to ask. That's a legitimate question. Theologians have pondered over that in real Christian circles, not just liberal Hollywood circles. Many theologians have talked about, Jesus as minority, Jesus who was not in the privileged race for his time. I've also seen theologians talk about the womanliness of Jesus, that Jesus is not a macho man. Jesus is more like Jeremiah than Elijah. And that's not just Johnny-come-lately stuff. I've got a book from 1911 that discusses that. And so what if Jesus isn't a straight white man like John Connor, but is instead something else, something coming in from south of the border and getting locked in detention centers? That's stuff that this movie deals with quite explicitly. You probably have strong opinions about those questions. Maybe you like those questions. Maybe you don't. Maybe you know what the answers to those questions are really strongly. I think regardless of any of that, for the purpose of a movie, right, Terminators are not real. Those are certainly good questions. They're interesting questions. They're much more interesting than the question asked by Terminator Genesis, what if JC was evil? That's just a dumb, then what if my own question were wrong? What if, so those are my thoughts on Terminator. I would like to hear your thoughts. If you want to see a movie with me and you live in Orlando, let me know. We should go.
And when in scenes of glory I sing the new song, 'twill be